This is the new Mercedes-Benz S Class long wheelbase, and since it's the long wheelbase, let's not waste any more time. Come on, hop inside. These automatic door handles are an option. I didn't find any information how they impact the car's aerodynamics, but according to the spec sheet, the drag coefficient for the new Mercedes-Benz S Class is just 0.22. That's 0.2 less than in the previous generation and 0.2 more than in the new Mercedes-Benz EQS, the electric limousine. Also, Mercedes assures that in case of an accident, these will pop out so the emergency services can get you out.
The current Mercedes-Benz S-Class generation has the internal code 223 with the letter W in the front, signifying the regular almost 311 cm wheelbase, and with the letter V for extended almost 322 cm wheelbase. This is the V223. An interesting bit of trivia: more than a third of all 222 generation S-Classes were sold in China, where 90% of sales were V222. The Chinese prefer to be driven in their limos. The Mercedes-Benz S-Class competes with cars like the BMW 7 Series or the Lexus LS. The S-Class and the 7 Series, both in long wheelbase form, have similar length and wheelbase, but the LS's dimensions are closer to the standard wheelbase Merc and Bimmer. Regardless of the wheelbase, the Mercedes is the widest of the bunch. There is 38 mm more elbow room in the front and 23 mm more in the rear with the standard wheelbase, and 11 mm more with the long wheelbase.
In the back, of course, it's really comfortable, cushy and quiet, and I'm really enjoying my time back here. The seats are available in 5 different configurations. The electric seats can even come with heated cushions. That's how advanced they are. Now, the passenger front seat can be folded and moved all the way backwards, like in the BMW 7 Series limousine, so that I can stretch out. Here I can't do it because my camera person is in the front. In the Mercedes, I almost feel like I'm on a bed. That's how comfortable it is. The BMW 7 Series and the Lexus LS have somewhat firmer seats.
In the armrest is a fold-out table which is strong enough to put a laptop on it. Next to the armrest is an induction charger. Cooled and heated cup holders are, in my opinion, too far to reach comfortably. Between the seats is a ski hatch, but in this car we have the optional fridge. Make sure it's latched properly, because I had it detached in a tight band. I can control majority of functions with a tablet or with these 2 touch screens, but I prefer voice commands. The new generation MBUX infotainment system recognizes the place from which the command is coming, and this is where it acts. The system can also learn the voices of the driver and the passengers to better adapt to their needs. Depending on the situation, the hands-free system can focus sound only around the driver or one of the rear passengers.
I think I could make do back here, but I'm sure you also want to know how this car is to drive and what are the gadgets in front, so let's hop into the front seat. In the front, Mercedes went all out. The driver gets a new digital instrument cluster with several data presentation modes and motifs. The driver display is more than 12 inches across, and the new MBUX Infotainment System screen has almost 12 inches as standard and optionally almost 13 inches. I'll start with the instrument cluster, which can display 3D content for some reason. I don't know why, but it can. In 3D, the instrument cluster is a bit darker, so on sunny days you get more of a reflection from the light upholstery on the steering column.
Controlling what's on the driver's display is somewhat different than in the older models. Now you can only change the information in the middle, but not on the left and the right. Instead of the two square touchpads, now there is a touch area, which I find difficult to interact with. I've experienced it before in the refreshed E Class. The driver also gets a large HUD with so-called augmented reality. According to Mercedes, the display corresponds to a 77-inch monitor seen from 10 meters away. The augmented reality is mainly dynamic arrows from the onboard navigation, as well as information about discovering other vehicles when you travel using adaptive cruise control. If you're using Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, only static arrows are displayed.
Almost everything else is controlled from the central display. Almost, because several items are here on the bottom, like the drive modes, camera, access to car settings, hazard lights, volume, etc., and a biometric fingerprint reader. I recently criticized VW for its new infotainment system because I can't find anything in it. Mercedes found a solution, and I can access most settings using natural voice commands without having to go through multi-stage menus. Hey Mercedes.
How can I help?
Show me seat settings. And I can adjust my lumbar support. The display is large and bright, and it comes with a cleaning cloth, which is important because it collects dust and fingerprints.
You can make the curvature of the lumbar support either more or less pronounced, as well as set it higher or lower. Open the comfort menu in the multimedia system, and then select the seat menu in order to individually adapt the lumbar support to your spine.
Thank you. Anyway, as I was saying, the screen collects dust and fingerprints as we speak, so it comes with a cloth. I hope you don't have to pay for one. My OCD is setting in. What on earth?
The biometric fingerprint reader helps quickly access driver profiles. For now, in some markets, including Poland, this function is unavailable, but Mercedes says it will activate it in one of the software updates, along with more advanced semi-autonomous driving functions or displaying information. These new functions will gradually appear as legislation catches up with technology. The driver can set around 800 parameters, so storing it in a profile is a good idea. The profile can also be accessed with a pin, like the primitive people withdrawing money from ATMs do. The door pockets are deep, the glove box is average size, and the armrest storage is small. Also, cup holders in the front are not cooled or heated. I haven't found this option in the configurator. Perhaps the S Class is really a car to be driven in rather than to drive, like the BMW 7 Series. The Mercedes-Benz S Class can be equipped with the optional rear-wheel steering. The rear wheels can turn 4 or even up to 10 degrees, which can reduce turning circle by even 2 meters. This makes it easier to park or turn around this 532 cm long limousine. This test S Class with all-wheel drive and rear-wheel steering needs less than 11 meters to turn around. The equally long Toyota Hilux needs almost 13 meters.
At low speeds, the rear wheels turn in the opposite direction to the front wheels, but at higher speeds, they turn in the same directions as the front wheels. So at low speeds, you get a tighter turning circle, and at higher speeds, the car is more stable.
The engine lineup for now is made up of 3 petrol and 2 diesel engines with power ranging from 286 to 503 horsepower. There are 6 and 8-cylinder engines to choose from. Beside the least powerful petrol and diesel variants, which can be ordered with just rear-wheel drive, everything else comes with all-wheel drive as standard. This is the S500 4MATIC, which means a 6-cylinder 3-liter petrol engine with 435 horsepower and 520 Nm of torque.
This is the so-called 48-volt mild hybrid system. EQ Boost gives you additional 250 Nm of torque and 22 horsepower if it works, because on a warmer day the car displayed some sort of 48-volt system error message and the car went into limp mode. Of course, it was a Sunday, so having consulted the hotline and having our fingers crossed, we barely made it to the dealer where the 48-volt hybrid system had to be replaced, the battery, I guess. And filming was postponed for a week, well, 10 days actually, but who's counting? Apparently, this is not the first such incident, and I hope it wasn't related to moderately high temperature, because around 30 degrees, it's nothing compared to what you get in the Middle East, where the S Class is quite popular actually.
Mercedes claims this S Class will do 0 to 100 km per hour in 4.9 seconds. I checked and I got 5.4 seconds in Sport Plus mode. From 80 to 120 km per hour, the S Class accelerates in 3.7 seconds. The WLTP consumption should be around 8 to 9.5 liters per 100 km combined. Driving carefully, this is achievable. At motorway speeds, fuel economy goes up to about 10-11 liters.
Speaking of motorway speeds, the S Class is very well soundproofed. You can barely hear the outside world even at high speed. If you like your car to be semi-autonomous, the motorway is where the system works best. It's basically active lane keeping assist and adaptive cruise control working together to keep you at the right distance and at the right speed depending on what the speed limit is. And in some markets also the lane change assist works. Unfortunately, not in this one. Also, in the future, you will be able to let go of the steering wheel completely and drive like this for longer periods of time. But once you're off the motorway, be careful. I drove the S Class along some rural roads, and there were instances where the car would not recognize the urban area or it would not slow down before a sharp turn. And once I almost ran a stop sign because the crossing wasn't on the map.
And to make things more interesting, Mercedes SatNav can lead you on non-paved roads or turn off the main road and lead you through the city center of some small town. Unfortunately, autonomous systems are only as good as the maps which they use. In some markets, you can ask Mercedes about the buildings or monuments you pass by. In Poland, this feature doesn't seem to be working. Apparently, there is also Internet of Things integration, so you can ask Alexa if you've turned off the iron.
Also, from behind the wheel, it is clear that the S Class is all about comfort. Perhaps the AMG version will be a bit more aggressive, but even in the 7 Series, in the less powerful versions, you feel that BMW is a driver's car, not a passenger's car. And nothing wrong with that. I'm sure you're not considering the S Class limousine for driving dynamics of a BMW. I'm just saying that the S Class floats rather than rides.
The E-Active body control suspension controls damping on each individual wheel, which helps reduce body roll in all directions and prepare for bumps rather than react to them. Mercedes uses this technology since 2013, but it has been further refined. The pneumatic suspension is also part of the active safety system. In case of a side collision, the car can raise up to 8 centimeters so that the passengers can be above the car T-boning the Mercedes.
As far as driving is concerned, even in sport mode, the S Class is soft. Although I can feel that the car has some potential, it's just limited by the electronics. Problems. The suspension may be very intelligent, but not intelligent enough to cope with rougher roads. Some bumps or sewer covers cause the rear end to jitter, skip to the sides a bit. I experienced this in other Mercedes-Benz cars as well, so there's only so much the computer can compensate for. Also, regardless of the drive mode, the brakes bite very low, but perhaps it's not a bug but a feature, and the designers wanted to prevent passengers from being thrown around by sudden braking. And the visibility to the right is absolutely atrocious. There is no front seat setting that would not create a huge blind spot back here. Fortunately, Mercedes has numerous sensors warning you about the dangers lurking around the car.
Prices of the new Mercedes-Benz S Class start at a modest €97,806 for the S350D with standard wheelbase. The S500 4MATIC long wheelbase starts at €123,000 and with options, this test car costs about 200 grand.
I'd love to say that the new S Class is a hassle-free car that is relaxing for its driver and its passengers. Unfortunately, the 48-volt mild hybrid system failure is a concern, especially when you're spending 200 large. Was it just an early bug that's going to get fixed? We'll see. And how do you like the new S Class? Do you like to be driven or to be the driver? Let me know in the comment section below.
If you like my sarcastic, down-to-earth and possibly mildly amusing car reviews, join me every Friday at 3 p.m. Central European Time, and don't forget to subscribe and like this video as it helps me with the YouTube algorithm. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.